Hey, what's up everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Unsung Hollywood Season 3, and this episode is about the best man. I had to go to say that this is definitely, a classic, and this movie came out in 1999. I remember seeing it at the movie theater. I was 16 at the time, and I remember this movie just blowing my mind because I've never seen anything like it prior to that, and it gave a totally different, diverse look at, black people and the black experience, because all of these characters are successful, they're well-to-do, they're educated, but yet they are still black, and, they know who they are and know where they're going. But, this was a really great episode of Unsung Hollywood. I'm glad they actually showcased this because this movie didn't get the crossover appeal that it deserved. Because, it's a movie with an all-black cast, but it's a universal topic and a universal subject that everybody can relate to. And it's just a movie that definitely, I still laugh at to this day. I still, have my moments. It's in my collection, so it's definitely a movie that's very dear to me and a movie that I love. And the movie was actually written and directed by Michael D. Lee. He's also the same writer and director for Girls Trip. And he's also the cousin of Spike Lee. And, he comes from this middle-class family in Brooklyn. Both of them have studied at New York University's graduate film school. And Malcolm actually served as the production assistant to Spike Lee in his movies. From School Days all the way to Clockers, he was working, pretty much somewhat interning under his cousin, Spike Lee. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But Malcolm has definitely created a name for himself, and this movie was his big break. And he talks about, him being a screenwriter, and Spike had helped him to get an agent, and he was pitching scripts, but nothing was taking, nothing landed. So pretty much he decided, he started working on this other script, and he said that if this script doesn't make it, then I'm just done. Nothing's going to work because this one is a good one. And the name of the script was My Homeboy's Wedding, which became The Best Man. And, the industry wanted in. He started meeting with Columbia Pictures, but ended up, striking a deal with Universal Pictures. Spike Lee was one of the producers of the movie. And the budget for the movie was $9 million. So pretty much he describes the movie The Best Man as a drama with comedic moments. And Robbie Reed, the infamous Robbie Reed, one of the famous casting directors, she pretty much was the one who cast this movie. And the role of Harper Stewart was played by none other than Taye Diggs. This was him just coming off of doing How Stella Got a Groove Back. And I think he also was on Guiding Light prior to that. So, he's pretty much a newcomer, just coming off of doing How Stella Got a Groove Back. And he gets the role as Harper Stewart. And he said that he can relate to Harper because he, being a black man, was very intellectual. And he used to get picked on saying that he was whitewashed or he was trying to be a white boy. And he just thought that it was just really ignorant. And even Malcolm even said that, this was one of the things as to why he did this film, was to show that there are educated black people who are not whitewashed. They're not trying to be black. They're not trying to be white. They're not trying to forget that they're black. They're just very well educated. They have a sense of who they are, but they're still black, and they still know who they are and know where they come from and know where they're going. So he was saying that this movie was supposed to be a different reflection of what it means to be black and what it means to be excellent, which I love. And I think that's one of the main things that I loved about this movie, was because it showed black people in a positive light. The role of Robin, who was Harper's girlfriend, was actually given to a newcomer, Sanaa Lathan, and this was like her first movie. And I remember me being drawn to her character, especially on the day of the wedding, and how she stepped in. You know, I really started to really like Robin's character, and it made me kind of double back at Harper, like, you got this great woman and yet you don't want to commit to her? The fuck is your problem, Harper? But I have to say, Sanaa Lathan, this was her groundbreaking role, and her career has just flourished from that point on. Then you have the character Lance Sullivan, who's this pro football player, very religious but very short-tempered. Was played by Morris Chestnut, you know, and Morris was right for this role, you know. And I have to say, I've seen him in Boys in the Hood, and I've seen him in other movies, but this movie, I think, really put him in the orbit. You know, people saw Morris Chestnut with a different set of eyes, you know, after doing this movie. And then from this point on, he became like literally a sex symbol after doing this film, you know. And he just did a phenomenal job playing the role of Lance, you know, the groom. Then the role of Mia Morgan, who's the bride, they chose Monica Calhoun, and she even said that, you know, she was kind of on edge, because the movie she had did prior to this was The Players Club, where she played a stripper, and she was afraid that she was going to be typecast, but the producers and everybody said that they wanted her and that she was right for the role. You know, her whole demeanor was right for the role of Mia. Then the next person they ended up casting was Julianne Aka Murch, which is played by Harold Perrineau. And Harold Perrineau has been in a lot of stuff. I remember him being on Oz, and currently right now he's doing a guest spot on Star. He's also on Claws. So Harold Perrineau is definitely a working actor, and he's definitely the type of actor that can morph into any role. And I'm a huge fan of his. And the woman who played Shelby, you know, his domineering girlfriend. And the funny thing about it, Harold Perrineau and Melissa DeSouza, who plays the role of Shelby, they both went to Alvin Ailey Dance Company together, so they knew each other. And you know, she ends up getting the role of Shelby, and they said that her ad-libbing is what got her the role, because the lines that she ad-libbed, like the ones in the movie, she's like, "Ooh, the crew's back in full effect. Break out the 40s. Oh, I see. Let's gang up on Shelby Day." And I admit it, Shelby was that character, like, you know, yeah, she was a bougie bitch, but she was hilarious. And her attitude, the way that she came off, the way that she said her lines, she just had great comedic timing, and she was sharp with it. So Melissa did a phenomenal job playing that role, because everybody remembers Shelby. Like, Shelby is such a bitch, and she completely controlled Murch. You know, she literally had the boy like in her back pocket. Anytime she told him to jump, he said, "How high?" You know. And the role of Quentin, which was actually one of my favorite characters in this movie, was given to Terrence Howard. And Terrence Howard actually talks about that when he met with Malcolm, one thing he did is that he started playing with the guitar and started doing all these tricks on the guitar. We even seen him do this on Empire too, and we saw how of a well-accomplished musician and guitar player that Terrence Howard is, and he brought that element, which, you know, Malcolm was like, he's perfect for Quentin, because Terrence Howard was like, he wasn't taking it seriously. He didn't think he was going to get the role anyway, but he said that his whole personality and the way that he came off is exactly what he wanted for the role of Quentin. And on top of it, Quentin's entertaining, so perfect choice. And then when it came down to the role of Jordan, they wanted a big star to play that role. And no star at that time was bigger than Nia Long. And Nia Long was perfect. You know, she was pretty much considered one of the it girls of Hollywood. You know, she was in that class with Vivica Fox, Jada Pinkett, you know, some of these beautiful black women who were getting some of these great big roles in Hollywood movies. So pretty much this whole movie is set around this book called Unfinished Business. And it's a book of secrets that is like a ticking time bomb, that once this secret is revealed, everything can go completely left. And pretty much another thing that they talked about in this episode is the African American cast, how it was a diverse cast and they were all different, and that they were educated, they were self-aware, and they conducted themselves with poise and pride. So pretty much, you know, and like Malcolm actually talked about that he actually had friends like this growing up. You know, that they were very well educated, but we were all different. Like he said that, you know, you had Harper, who was intellectual but yet was sneaky, and then you had the role of Lance, who was very religious but was very temperamental. Then you had, you know, the role of Murch, who was kind of like a simp but was very smart and very passionate. And then you also had the role of Quentin, who was the player and was the guy that would speak his mind, and he didn't give a damn about your feelings. So he said that I had friends like that growing up, so that's who I based the characters off of, people that I knew, you know, who were intellectual black men who definitely had their own traits. Now, one of the definitely big scenes in this movie was the scene where they're playing spades. And we kind of see all four of them interact with each other, and how well they all play off of each other was just magic. But then we kind of see in this scene that Quentin is the catalyst for the movie, because what happens is that the book that Harper wrote called Unfinished Business was supposed to come out like weeks after the wedding, but Jordan wanted an exclusive, so she pretty much had an early copy, and it was circulating around the group. But by the time he ends up getting to New York, everybody has read it except for Lance. So here it is in this scene, you know. So pretty much in this scene or whatever, Quentin starts to kind of come for Lance, where he was saying that, so you mean to tell me that Mia has never been with any other men? And he was like, yeah, I'm the first, I'm the last, and I'm the only. But then he starts poking at the bear and was like, so what if she did get a little swerve on? Don't you think she'd be well in her rights? I mean, it's karma, baby. And then the next thing you know, we see that Lance snaps and literally jacks up Quentin, and literally damn near turns the table upside down while doing it. And we see that Harper is literally shitting in his pants, because he realizes that that's not somebody you want to piss off. But yet he knows he's done the unthinkable, and it's inside that book. And Quentin knows it, because after that, and Harper and Lance goes to take a piss, you know, Quentin sits back and is like, whose hand is it? I cracked up in the movie theater. I was like, he got your motherfucking ass. Because Quentin is that type of person that he's brutally honest. You know, he can be cool with you, but if you come for him, he's going to read you your rights. And at that time when they was playing, you know, Harper had called him a bullshit artist. So this rubbed Quentin the wrong way. So he kind of flipped the script on his ass, like, so who bullshitting now? You know, because you know damn well if you tell him the truth that you slept with Mia, he gonna fuck you up. But everybody knows about this except for Lance. But Lance is the one that has the book. And then also another thing that jumps out in this movie is, this whole question of love and commitment. And you see Harper is kind of caught in a love triangle with his girlfriend Robin, and then versus the one who got away when they were in college, Jordan. And we see that him and Jordan still have this chemistry, and they want to see how it's going to turn out. Let's have our night and let's see where it goes from there. So after the bachelor party, he's supposed to go over there and they're supposed to get it in. And then let's see. And then also another thing that also jumped in this movie is also the relationship between Shelby and Murch, of how she's viciously controlling, how she constantly, emasculates him in front of his friends and everybody. And it's just been years of the same old shit. Well, the part that definitely had me rolling was when it was the night of the bachelor party, and she wanted him to skip the bachelor party to come home with them so they can work on their relationship. And she tries to guilt trip and was like, well, go ahead. Why don't you go to the bachelor party? I don't care. Just go. Just go. And he was like, all right, fine. And here it is. She getting smiling, thinking she's going to get away. And he was like, see you in the morning. And then, there was a group of us in the theater, when, they were rooting them. I was like, Murch. There was us in the movie theater were doing the same damn thing. It was hilarious, man. I was 16, and there was a group of us who were high school kids who was doing the same thing. Finally, you got your balls back, nigga. Because Quentin was one person was like, look, you need to stand up for yourself, and you don't like the way that she be carrying you. So when that moment when he stood up to her was everything. And then, another infamous scene in this movie was after Lance finds out and he beats the dog shit out of Harper. Harper goes to Jordan and literally downs the mood. And she's concerned because obviously he got fucked up. And then he kind of takes it out on her with saying that this is your fault because, since you wanted an exclusive, I got my ass whooped. I got almost thrown off of a fucking building because of yo ass. And then he was like, so thank you. And then he was like, and what the fuck is that smell? And then she did the infamous pop. Yo, even in the movie theater, I jumped. As everybody, we was like, shit! We all were reacting to that because she hit his ass hard. She hit the shit out of him. And we come to find out she really did hit his ass. And he stayed in character, but he was mad. And he even said that at that point, he was like, this is so unprofessional. I'm never going to work with her again. But then he said the next day they were cool. And he says once he saw it on screen, he says, wow. That was needed, because she said that the scene needed something. It wasn't on paper, but they knew they needed something. And in that moment, she just went in, and even though he was in pain, he stayed in character. But he said that his head hurted the whole damn day after that. And she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. But she kind of got lost in character, and she hit the shit out of his ass. But that definitely that definitely is an infamous scene, and it's a scene that most of us remember when it comes down to the best man. And then we also have Mia and Lance's relationship, which is really heaped in spirituality and forgiveness, because she's forgiven him for all of his transgressions, because we knew that Lance was not faithful in their relationship, especially when they were in college. And then this was also a groundbreaking role for Regina Hall, who was a very newcomer to film. This was her very first movie, and she plays a stripper named Candy, who ends up becoming the love interest to Murch, because here it is, she gives him a lap dance, but the thing that connected them wasn't the lap dance or the fact that she was a stripper. It was the fact that she was a college student, and they shared love for poetry, and one of the poems that he mentioned was from Audre Lorde, and they connected off of that, so you can tell that their chemistry was real, and they just connected, because after she danced, the two of them were talking afterwards, and she literally was outside waiting for him. And Regina Hall looked so beautiful, and I remember being drawn to her character. I was like, okay, she's about to do something, because you saw that she came in by herself, but when she came in and did her thing, I was like, okay, Miss Candy. But then I really was drawn to her character, because she showed that even though she was a stripper, she was also an intellectual woman, and she was just only stripping to pay for college. She was hustling, doing what she had to do. But then she talks about how nervous she was. She wasn't a dancer, but they ended up giving her a dance coach, and the producer was dead set that they need to give her a shot because he felt that she was right for the role, and she killed it. Oh, so then they also talk about, the bachelor party scene, and that's when, because Harper tries to take the book back, but then he gets caught slipping, because he throws the jacket and the book is in it. So he literally fumbled in the worst way, because what ends up happening, Lance goes into the bathroom, reads the book, finds out the secret that it was Harper who had sex with that Harper and Mia had sex when they were in college. And he went the fuck off. And I have to say, Morris Chestnut acted his ass off in this scene, because he beat the brakes off of Harper. Even to the point where he damn near threw him off the balcony. Like, he was that mad, and I was so in for it. And I liked how Quentin was like, nah, let this shit ride. Because he's like, I want Harper to get his ass beat. Because Harper was very opinionated, very arrogant, was very condescending when it came to Quentin, because Quentin had multiple jobs, and he didn't have a established career yet, and he was just kind of riding his tail. And, so here it is. He's like, yeah, now your shit done coming to the light. I'm gonna let you have your moment. So I'm gonna let Lance beat your ass. But then when it got to the point where he was about to kill him, that's when Quentin jumped in and was like, you about to marry you a beautiful woman tomorrow. I love that scene. It's everything, because we just see that, yeah, it was Quentin that calmed him down. And then also another powerful scene that they talked about was the day of the wedding, where we see that Lance, literally storms the church to try to tell his parents that the wedding's off, and we see that he literally is dragging Harold Perrineau and Terrence Howard. They both literally are grabbing his legs, and he's literally pulling the both of them, dragging them down the aisle. And he only gets stopped by Harper, and then him and Harper have that moment where he gets so mad that he flips the table in the back of the church. Like, you see all of this anger, but then he breaks down yet again, because it's like, here it is, he's mad as hell, because he's mad that that Harper slept with his soon to be wife. But then it's like, here it is, this is the love of his life, and is he gonna let this anger that he has for Harper get in the way of marrying the woman of his dreams? So pretty much, and then like also another scene was, and I think Morris Chestnut did some great acting when it was during the wedding scene where he was emotional and he was crying, and he was showing that it's okay for black men to show emotion. It's okay for black men to cry. It's not a crime. You know, you're not less of a man if you show emotion. And you know, it was really convincing. And I was like, that's why I said this role is pretty much actually was that groundbreaking role for Morris Chestnut. And they pretty much said that afterwards they before the movie was released, they test the movie in Washington D.C. It got rave reviews, but then they went to Simi Valley in California, and they said you could hear a pin drop. So the white audience didn't really take it very well. But the funny thing about it, it has a universal theme, but they were kind of saying that it's kind of messed up how the industry will be like if it has more than 2 black people, then it's considered a black movie, when it should have just been considered a great movie because it was a movie that everybody can relate to. It's just that the characters were African American, just like we do with white movies. I mean, you know, they get universal appeal, and there's movies that they do that we relate to also. You know, we can relate to each other. You know, it's all about art. And it's just messed up that we have an industry that is always trying to separate us based off of color rather than the content of the work. But the funny thing about it is that it reached number 1 at the box office, and it made $34 million. You know, where it had a $9 million budget, it made $34 million. So that is considered a hit movie. And it even knocked Fight Club out of the number 1 spot. And pretty much, you know, Terrence Howard saying that, yeah, it's been given the black label and all that. But he says, I've been to Romania, I've been to Bosnia, I've been to many places around the world, and they love The Best Man there. So here it is, countries around the world can relate to it with it being an all-black cast. So why is it that America has a problem with it? And I'm like, you brought a damn good point up. But, you know, definitely, you know, since then, Malcolm D. Lee has still have been writing and directing films. One of his latest is Girls Trip, and that was a big hit, you know, still being talked about. And also this movie, you know, got a lot of nominations at the NAACP Image Awards. It actually won for Best Drama Film. And also Nia Long won for Best Actress, and Terrence Howard won for Best Supporting Actor. And 2013, they did the sequel, Best Man's Holiday, which was really good. And he pretty much said that the great thing about this movie is that it showed that people of color are beautiful, amazing, unique, and that we have great stories to tell as well. So that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I like to hear about it. Or if you have some things you'd like to share about what was your favorite parts of The Best Man, and what did you love about this movie, and what this movie meant to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Unsung Hollywood. So until next time, everybody, take care.